last time out on the Motorsport News Circuit Rally Championship. Frank Bird made it 2 on the trot as he took overall honours at Brands Hatch, whilst Gary Mason slid his way to Class C honours and Barry Morris flew to a D1 victory. Who'll be on top as we come to Cadwell Park?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. You are joining us here at Cadwell Park for round 5 of the Motorsport News Circuit Rally Championship. The Alan Healy Memorial Cadwell Park stages are organised by Border Motor Club, and what a day it is going to be today. We have previous championship runner-up Mark Kelly here to take Frank and Jack on for that win. What's it going to be like? Paul, over to you.
Thanks, Sam. Let's take a look at the entries for this weekend. And in Class A, the championship battle continues between Ron Walker and Eamon McCubbin and the Nissan Micra of Adam and Ray Ripper. They trail after missing Knockhill, so they'll be looking to claw back some points finishes this time out. We've seen some great battles in Class B this year between the Opel Corsa of Chris Ruck and Steve Harris and the Ford Fiesta of Ashley Morris and Jamie McTavish, throwing a Mazda MX-5 of Paul Gorge and Daniel Hurst, and that Mega Citroen C2R2 of Mark Peterson and Jim Bowie, and we've got a fight too close to call. In Class C, local boys Ryan Connolly and Chris Allen will be looking to take a home win in their Ford Puma, but the Talbot Sunbeam Lotus of Kathy Stewart and Colin Stevens will also fancy their chances. Mike English and Andy Robinson can never be discounted either in the Turquoise Terror, especially with the Darien of Tamsin Davey and Joshua Davey being absent. Barry Morris and Tom Hutchins claim victory at Brands Hatch over Stephen and Jack Tilburn, but both trail Mike Taylor and Martin Haggett in the championship. Frank Bird and Jack Morton will be looking to make it 3 on the trot this time at Cadwell Park. They missed the event last time, so they need to score maximum points to bring them back into championship contention. Lee and Abby Allen went well here in November, so they'll be optimistic of a good result. Let's check out what the competitors will have to deal with for the first 2 stages. Starting on the far side of the circuit at Charlie's Corner, they'll head the wrong way around the track, turning into the pit lane, and then head up the hill to the paddock complex before rejoining the track. The stage finish line will be halfway around Chris Curve. Stage 2 will be the same, but 1 lap shorter. First off the line and having to tackle the tricky damp conditions were Frank Bird and Jack Morton in their awesome Ford Focus WRC 07. As we go on board here, you can see the determination on Frankie's face, or as Jack let one rip. They'd stall before climbing the hill, costing them precious seconds, but they'd finish fastest of the D2 runners. Anyone lip read? Away they go. Smoking the tyres off the line was the Ford Escort Mark II of Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman. They last ran in the championship last season at Anglesey, but it came to an early end. They're not lacking commitment this time, and they finished the stage fastest overall. Going fastest in Class C by a staggering 23 seconds was the Peugeot 205 of Andy Corner and Abe Campo. They must have got some amazing downforce from having that boot open. Mind you, they were pushing on. I think they enjoyed themselves on that one, eh? It's like a Pikes Peak car. Go on, lads. Woohoo! In Class B, Chris Ruck and Steve Harris were quick on the stage and carried our camera car to the top of the time, so let's join them on board. They'd have a clean run to finish 1 second faster than Brands Hatch victors Ben Short and Hannah Chisler. Testing the limits were Matt Wood and Peter Kettle in their Vauxhall Corsa. Sadly for them, we caught their little shortcut on camera, like one of my outlaps in touring cars. Lovely. Ron Walker and Amy McCubbin might have been taking notes because they went off at the same place, but unfortunately it ended the stage for them. A bitter disappointment for the championship hopefuls, but their rivals Adam and Ray Ripper also come unstuck at that same corner. Nearly. Cracked on though. That left the plucky Mini Cooper S of Sir Andrew McAlpine and Andrew Merriford to take the fastest time in Class A on stage 1. Brilliant effort, fellas. Meanwhile, the Swedish judges gave this lovely pirouette by the Fiat 500 of Jack and George Wright a 5.7. As stage 2 got underway, Frank Bird and Jack Morton were once again first out, but they stalled once again at the same place as stage 1, losing yet more time. They gain a second on Kelly and Coleman, but they would be beaten to fastest time of the day by these guys. Oosh! The stunning black and gold Ford Fiesta R5 of Paul Smith and Dale Bowen did a mega job in the wet conditions to finish the stage fastest by a second over Frank and Jack. That four-wheel drive Ford is working beautifully, and given how they're flinging it around, I'd say they're enjoying themselves also. Yes, lads. The Ford Escort of Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman looks like a getaway car in the 1970s cop drama, the way they're driving it, like the Sweeney. They proved quick enough though, sliding the car to fastest in D1. With the boot closed this time, Andy Corner and Abe Campo were only 2 seconds faster than the rest in Class C. Listen to them go, it's like the 1980s. Crack on, boys. In Class B, Ben Short and Hannah Chislett were 2 seconds faster than the competition despite having to contend with traffic in the wrong parts of the circuit. Making up for their stage 1 performance, Matt Wood and Peter Kell set the fastest Class A time on the stage by 4 seconds, but it would be Adam and Ray Ripper who would be leading the class overall. Let's check in with Sam in the paddock.
We are here with Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman. Guys, welcome back to the championship. It is really, really good to have you back. First round of the season this time, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and thank you. You know, it's good to be back. We'd have liked to have done more rounds, but the back end of last year, we went over to Jersey in the Polka Stars in the Isle of Man, and then we got a bit of a break, so we're like, right, let's get out there, get some seat time and support the championship, so it's good to be back.
And you two are a right little partnership now, aren't you? And definitely feeling comfortable in the car.
Feeling really comfortable, to be fair. So the results last year, the back end really showed what potential we've got, really. So yeah, the Jersey, and then we went to Polka Stars, and we finished up the season at Anglesey and won that event. So yeah, car's been re-prepped over winter. So ready, yeah, first time out this time with the car. So we'll see how we go. Frank,
Jack, a little bit of a difficult morning so far, and you've got a bit of competition today, haven't you?
Yeah, it's a really good entry list, so it makes things interesting. But yeah, just stalled it again on one of the really tight hairpins, but we don't do that other one again, luckily, so I can catch them back up.
You've been doing really well on the handbrake side of things. You seem to have definitely got to grips with it more. Is it just how tight it is?
Yeah, it's just so tight in this big car as well, and just a little bit the anti-stall thing as well, but
yeah.
Well, luckily we don't do it again, so it's all good.
Now, talk me through the very strategically placed red duct tape on this door. What happened there?
Yeah, just trying to make the circuit a little bit wider than it already is, because as Frank said, it's a big car to try and get around. So it just bounced off a tyre wall and just sort of took the door handle off, but it's nothing that the boys can't fix, so it's all sorted there now.
We are here with Michael and Jamie. Guys, welcome to Cadwell Park. How is the day going for you? It's a little bit soggy, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Another wet day, unfortunately. Not quite as nice as Brands. It's fine though. Yeah, very good out there. Slippy in places, but yeah, really enjoying it. Yeah, no, very good. So pace has been good first couple of stages, so hopefully we can keep it going. Okay.
And what are we thinking of the car? Does everything feel good? What have we gone for tyre-wise today?
Nothing but wets, I think, today. I don't think we're going to be putting any dries on today, that's for sure anyway. But yeah, we're gone with the Michelin wets, and just like Mike said, first 2 stages they've been really good for us. We've had a good push, and it just, well, creeping inside the top 5, top 10. So yeah, hopefully we can continue that for the rest of the day.
Well, and what's the circuit like compared to obviously the last round at Brands? How does the circuit differ?
This is my favourite circuit of the championship, Cadwell is. I would like to do it in the dry, but other than that, yeah, I love it. It just feels nice. Chicanes are quite tight, especially second time through, somebody hit it, so it's all very different when you get to them. But other than that, yeah, really good.
Confirmation of the standings after 2 stages, and as you can see, Adam and Ray Ripper lead the class by over 2 seconds from fellow Nissan Micra runners James Hardy and Nick Wilkins. Sir Andrew McAlpine and Andrew Merrifield slipped to 3rd, but they're only 5 seconds off the lead. In Class B, Ben Short and Hannah Chisler lead by 3 seconds, but in joint 2nd place are Chris Ruck and Steve Harris, and the Ford Fiesta of Robert Vardy and Rhys Yates, and he knows his way around a rally car. This could be interesting. Andy Corner and Aid Campo have an impressive lead in Class C, but they won't be able to rest on their laurels, with Mike English and Andy Robertson 2nd, and local lads Ryan Connolly and Chris Allen in 3rd. Kathy Suet and Colin Stevens are not far off either in 4th place. Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman lead Class D1 by 16 seconds, and they are followed by Martin Hodgson and Tony Jones and Stephen and Jack Tilburn to make it a Mark II top 3. Championship leader Mike Taylor is lurking in 4th place, and he's only 23 seconds off the lead. Despite going fastest overall on stage 2, Paul Smith and Dale Bowen trail Frank Bird and Jack Morton at the top of the D2 times. John Griffiths and Nigel Wetton, who were regulars last season, returned for this rally and are sitting nicely in 3rd place, just 8 seconds behind the black and gold Fiesta R5. Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman lead the overall times by over 2 seconds from Frank Bird and Jack Morton. Not bad considering there's about 30 years difference between the age of their cars. Paul Smith and Dale Bowen are in 3rd, 2 seconds ahead of Martin Hodgson and Tony Jones. This is going to be close. As the cars head to the start of stage 3, let's take a look at the stage plan. They will all start in the same place as the first 2 stages, but this time around they will drive up the pit exit to negotiate 2 chicanes before rejoining the circuit. The run down the S's and over the mountain will prove tricky in the wet conditions, then it's a blast through the final part of the lap to finish on crisp curve. As stage 3 gets underway, our focus is on the D2 class runners. First on the road though is Frank Bird and Jack Morton, and as we go on board with them here, you can see how slippery it is out there as they go over the mountain. They'd find their feet on this stage going fastest overall by 4 seconds. In 2nd place is Paul Smith and Dale Bowen in their Fiesta R5. They led in the early stages, but would prove to be on the pace for the entire rally, regularly featuring in the top 3. In 3rd, it's this gorgeous blue and yellow Subaru Impreza of John Griffiths and Nigel Wetton. We haven't seen them so far this season, despite being regulars last year, but they haven't got rusty and kept the front 2 honest. They'd finished the day with a podium in class. It's another Scooby, this time a WRC S6 squirming on track in the hands of Roger Duckworth and Mark Broomfield. They'd be in the running at the top of the times in the morning, but would finish 10th overall and 6th in D2. Finishing in front of them, 5th fastest in class at the end of the day were Richard Wells and Calvin Holdsworth in their Mitsubishi Evo. The pair would leave Cadwell still in the lead of the D2 Championship, but with a gap closing to just 10 points from Frank and Jack. Robert Swan and Steve McNulty were making use of their Ford Fiesta R5's 290 brake horsepower to finish 4th in class and 7th overall. Just look how wet the track still is. There's our old friends Lee and Abby Allen. They grabbed the podium finish here last time and a solid run to 7th in class and just inside the top 15 overall. The points helped them maintain 3rd in the D2 Championship standings, just 4 points off top spot. Jeffrey Panton and Michael Fennell brought some Jamaican spirit to a damp Cadwell Park. They'd finished 9th in class. Finishing in front of them were championship runners Neil Beaumont and Dylan Thomas in their Subaru Impreza. The points helped their championship chances as they sit 7th and 6th respectively. Dean Hickling and Jeff Moss made an appearance in their Subaru Impreza and had a good run to finish 11th fastest in the D2 class. They'd be beaten by this white Impreza of Michael Stanley and Max Weatherly as they bagged a top 10 finish. Meanwhile, Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman were still leading the way in Class D1, keeping it nicely planted as they go through the S's. In Class C, the now familiar-looking Peugeot 205 of Andy Corner and Aid Campo enjoyed a 37-second lead over Mike English. Sliding their way to fastest in Class B were Ben Short and Hannah Chisler, meanwhile maintaining their Class A lead were the Rippers in their Nissan Micra, with a 10-second cushion over James Hardy and Nick Wilkins. Sam's with Jamie Vaughan in the paddock.
Just talk us through what's happened. We've obviously not had a brilliant stage.
No, it was going well up until stage 3, but stage 3 we were just coming around a fast left-hander and went to pull fifth. As we pulled fifth, we've caught the grass on the outside, and it's just shot us the other side of the road, and we've hit the Armco quite hard, flat in fifth. So that's the end of our rally today, and done a fair bit of damage, but me and Mike are both okay, so that's the main thing, I suppose. It's done the front left wing. It's bent quite a lot of steering components. We've hit the rear arch on it as well, so it's done a fair bit of damage, unfortunately. But saying that, the speed we actually hit it's held up quite well. So yeah, hopefully we'll miss Netterton, but hopefully we'll be back after that.
As we turn to stage 4, it's the turn of the D1 class, and Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman are definitely giving it full beans as they set another fast time on this stage to extend their class lead by 8 seconds. Running in second place at this point in a similar Ford Escort Mark II were Martin Hodgson and Tony Jones. They suffer a maximum stage time on stage 5, moving them down the order to finish 7th in class. Running consistently as ever were the Tilbans in their Ford Escort RS 2500. They'd move up into second place after stage 5, not quite having the pace though to challenge the dynamic duo of Kelly and Coleman. Mike Taylor and Martin Haggard got held up in the earlier stages but remained patient and finished the day 3rd in class. Paul Morrow and Callum Cross always look committed in their Ford Escort. Let's go on board with them. Yes. May as well not take your hand off that gearbox, it smashes through the gearbox. Ooh, you're a fighter. Well held. I thought that was a goner then. Beautiful. Sounds amazing. The Peugeot 205 of Dan Corner and Mark Regan had a good run to 6th in class at the end of the day. After a slow start to the day, Barry Morris and Tom Hutchins came surging through the pack, moving from 8th in class at the end of stage 1 to 3rd by the end of the day. The Opel Cadet of Alan McDowell and James Robson was an early casualty, retiring on stage 5. A maximum stage time on stage 5 would drop Seamus Morris and Jarlath Kelly back in their Darien for the worst championship point score of the year. Gawain and Lois Clark would finish 8th in class in their BMW Compact, just ahead of the red Porsche 911 of John Spears and Howard Pridmore. Aaron and Dean Gosling would round out the class with the Fiat 500 of Jack and George Wright, retiring on stage 8. Meanwhile, Frank and Jack continued to lead the way overall, with Andy Corner and Aid Campo flying and sliding in their 205 at the top of Class C. Robert Vardy and Rhys Yates jumped Ben Short to lead Class B, and Adam and Ray Ripper continued to lead in Class A. Let's check in with Sam.
So we're here with Mike Taylor. Mike, how's your day going so far today?
It's been a difficult day so far. On stage 1 we were blocked heavily by the Jamaican friends, who were very slow on that stage, and Ryan Conlon, who was behind them. So the three of us had to go in a very slow procession. It cost a fair bit of time, which put us behind our main competitors. Stage 2, we got a bit over-enthusiastic on the first chicane and wiped out the front of the car. So we lost a bit of time there. Stage 3 was the first clean stage, which was nice. And the last stage, stage 4, was again clean. So it's nice. We're moving up slowly. It's all working okay. We like this nice slippery weather. It's all good.
We're here with Ashley Morris. Ashley, how's your day gone so far?
It's been a bit mixed so far, to be honest. So stage 1 and 2, I was probably a little bit overcautious. We had a bit of a moment on stage 1 where we had to reverse, so we lost a little bit of time there. So the pace wasn't quite where we wanted it to be, but stage 3 and 4, we've been back on the pace, so we just need to see if we can keep that up for the rest of the day, really.
You're trying something a little bit new today as well, aren't you? How's that going?
Well, I'm trying not to look at the results, because I think I psyched myself out at Brands because we were doing quite well and we were sitting 3rd in class, but people were catching us, and then I think that's partly the reason why I made a mistake and went off. So I thought I'm just going to try and kind of do my own thing today, do the best I can do and not focus on what everyone else is doing around me. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, how does that feel? Because you kind of always compare yourself to other people and things. So how is it going today, literally not having a clue?
It feels really weird, to be honest. It was something that they suggested to me when I went to iZone driver performance at Silverstone. So they said, you should be doing the best you can do regardless. And if you've done your best, it doesn't matter if someone's beaten you by 5 seconds. So, just do the best you can. It feels a bit weird because obviously Jamie, my co-driver, has been checking the times and Howard knows the time. So after stage 1 and 2, I knew they weren't great anyway because it didn't feel great in the car. And they said to me, you need to push on a bit. Whereas stage 3, I was like, I've remembered how to drive again. So regardless of where it is against everyone else, I know that's kind of nearly as well as I can drive, so I'm kind of happy with the performance. So it'll be interesting to see where we end up at the end of the day.
Absolutely. And conditions are a little bit different to what you've been doing the last week, hasn't it? Talk us through last weekend.
So I've been in Finland for the last few days, so I've been doing some ice driving over there, getting some tuition with Matt Edwards. So it's been really useful for me just to get used to feeling the car slide around a bit more. Obviously I'm used to driving on tarmac all the time, so driving out there is a completely different experience, but I've definitely learned a lot. So now I just need to kind of adapt my driving appropriately and see if I can put that into practice out here.
Kathy, Colin, talk me through that last stage. I mean, you guys have some really good banter going in your class, don't you? But we're quite happy right now, aren't we?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good right now. It's a good clean stage, but to be honest, we've gone out and had clean stages all morning, haven't we? We got held up on the first stage a little bit, but then I was relieved here, so did Ryan, and so did Mike English by quite a lot. So we're all pretty close. There's 1 second off each of us on the first stage. But then on this last stage, I've just taken 3 out of Ryan, so he won't be very happy with that. So there's like 1 second in it overall now between me and him, which is great. So we'll have to see what we can do in the afternoon. But obviously this is his home track, so I don't know what he's playing at really.
We'll make sure that he's aware of that. Yeah, and what about from your side of the car? Everything going okay
really
today?
Good. Yeah, car seems to be really good today. Seems to be planted well. I don't think the conditions are right, tyres are right, but yeah, it seems really, really good and put some impressive times in. So yeah, we're very happy at the moment. Yeah.
And it might be Ryan's home circuit, but how do you feel about Cadwell?
I love Cadwell personally. I think it's a really nice, challenging track. You know, you've got your different ups and downs and all the rest of it. It's not boring, is it? So I love coming to Cadwell, and every time I come, I just seem to get quicker and quicker around here. So hopefully this afternoon we can push on a little bit more. And we're happy to be in the top 20, to be honest, with all the cars that are here today. And the entry list is amazing. So to be inside the top 20 is fantastic. So we're happy with that.
Looking at the results in Class A, as we've just mentioned, Adam and Ray Ripper have got a 10-second lead over James Hardy and Nick Wilkins. So Andrew McAlpine and Andrew Merriford drop back to 21 seconds behind, but still hold on to third place. Class B, Robert Vardy and Rhys Yates move into first place, overtaking Ben Short and Hannah Chisler. Chris Ruck and Steve Harris are not far behind in third place. The Suzuki Swift Maxi of Ken Sturdy and Andrew Funnell is fourth. Andy Corner and Aid Campo have the biggest leading margin of any class in their 205 with a 38-second cushion to Mike English and Andy Robinson in second. Ryan Connolly and Chris Allen are third, 1 second in front of Kathy Stewart and Colin Stevens. Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman lead in Class D1 with a 33-second lead over Martin Hodgson and Tony Jones. Just 1 second behind them are Stephen and Jack Tilburn in their Ford Escort. Mike Taylor and Martin Haggart are lurking in fourth place, poised to take advantage. It's no surprise to see Frank Bird and Jack Tilburn at the top of the D2 times. They lead Paul Smith and Dale Bowen by 25 seconds, with John Griffiths and Nigel Wetton a further 9 seconds behind in third. Knockhill podium winners Richard Wells and Calvin Holdsworth hold fourth. In the overall standings, Frank and Jack lead Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman by only 8 seconds. This battle is far from over, as Mark and Neil still have a very good chance of overall honours. Paul Smith is third, with John Griffiths in fourth. We're halfway through the day, so let's take a look at the plan for Stage 5. The start is the same as the first 4 stages, seeing the competitors taking the pit lane chicanes in the paddock section. This time the cars turn left halfway through Mansfield Corner and rejoin the track. On the third lap, they'll turn right to finish the stage with a blast down Park Straight. The stars so far have been Andy Corner and Aid Campo in their 205. They've amassed a 47-second lead and they just keep on pushing. Just look at them go. In second place are Mike English and Andy Robinson in the Turquoise Terror. They spend the stage almost attached to the back of Ryan Connolly and Chris Allen, who were in third as they both fought it out to close the gap. At the end of the stage, it'd be a 9-second gap. 2 seconds further back are Kathy Stewart and Colin Stevens in their trusty Talbot Sunbeam Lotus. The battle would last all day. 8 seconds behind in 5th place were Stuart Ranby and Jonathan Stockdale in their Escort. They looked committed all day and finished a fine 5th in class. Here in its period colours is the Peugeot 306 F3 of Simon and Dominic Thomas. They'd finished 6th in class, just ahead of the Vauxhall Nova of Peter Chapman and Joe Chapman. William Clark and Stephanie Hemming are up next in their lovely Renault Williams Clio. They'd finished this stage in 8th. This 205 is hard to miss in the hands of Nick Taylor and Ross Hammond. They'd finished the rally in 8th place. Behind them, the championship runners Steve Dolman and Bruce Lindsay in their MX-5. It would be 9th overall and Steve's first championship point of the season. It's the yellow peril of Paul Fern and Will Brown in 10th overall. They'd pipped the Ford Escort of Graham Gibbs and Karen Robinson after they'd picked up a time penalty on stages 1 and 2. John Carroll and Chris Cooper were consistent runners in their Honda Civic, finishing 13th in class and taking valuable championship points. David Large and David Ottaway finished 14th in their Ford Escort, just in front of our camera car, so let's go on board with Blair and Shannon Thompson. They'd finish 15th, but the points mean they're third equal in the championship. Anthony Brumfield and Ian Want round out the class in their Toyota Corolla. In the other classes, Frank and Jack still lead the way in D2 with a 31-second lead, and overall with a gap of 20 seconds to these guys. Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman had it all their own way in D1, leading the class by 52 seconds now from the Tilburns. Robert Vardy and Rhys Yates have the upper hand at the end of Stage 5 in the fierce class battle, whilst Adam and Ray Ripper lead Class A in their battle-scarred Nissan Micra. For Stages 6 and 7, the competitors will go the right way around the track, turning right after the start onto the park straight. After the mountain, they'll turn right and head down to the pit lane, through the chicanes, and then it's a hairpin turn back onto the straight. On the final lap, they'll go through the paddock complex and finish at the hairpin. Robert Vardy and Rhys Yates took over the lead after Ben Short lost his fight with the tyres and have been consistent all day. They'd extend their lead by a second at the end of this stage. Championship hopefuls Chris Rook and Steve Harris are running in second place on this stage, but would have a superb battle for the lead with Robert and Rhys that would last all afternoon. Ben Short and Hannah Chislett received a penalty at the start of Stage 5, which would drop them down the order, but they're not lacking commitment here. In fourth place at the moment are Ashley Morris and Jamie McTavish. They'd move up to third by the end of the day for a class podium, a result that puts Ashley only 18 points off the championship lead. Paul Gorge and Daniel Hurst are running fifth on this stage. They'd drop a place but would still leave Cadwell Park leading the championship. The gaps are very small. This one is going to be close. Mark Peterson and Jim Bowie would jump the Mazda of Paul and Daniel at the end of the day to finish sixth. The result sees Mark close within 4 points of the Class B championship lead. Next up is the Fiesta of Connor Tolson and Brian Alara. They'd have a good afternoon, moving up 2 places to finish 5th in class. Matthew Hill and Richard Crozier were a bit leery, but they kept it all together to finish the day 9th in class. Simon Matchin and James Hallam ran behind Hill and Crozier at this stage, but finished ahead by the end of the day. Rounding out the bottom 3, we have John Shepherd and Mick Pears in their Citroen C2, Richard and Adam Kay in their Vauxhall Corsa, and Jez Hill and Derek Kelly in their 205 GTI. Unfortunately, they'd retire at the end of this stage with an oil leak. Moving on to Stage 7 and the Class A runners. It's championship hopefuls Adam and Ray Ripper at the head of the pack as they set some great times to maintain the gap at the front. In second place is the Nissan Micra of James Hardy and Nick Wilkins, who didn't quite have the speed to match the Rippers, and they'd finished the day second. It's a good run for the Ford KA of Ian Barnes and Jason Cutter in third place. They are just ahead of Stage 1 leaders Sir Andrew McAlpine and Andrew Merrifield in their Mini Cooper S. It's brilliant watching these two in the car. They'd finished the day in fifth. Fifth in the order on this stage were Matt Wood and Peter Kettle. They'd set the fastest time on the stage by 7 seconds despite this detour. If it wasn't for their max time on Stage 1, they would have been leading by some margin, having set the fastest time on every other stage. In sixth place is the Nissan Micra of Billy Walden and Andrew Walshaw. Nicely done, lads. Rob Jones and Tony Archer finished the stage in 7th in their Ford Fiesta, but would drop a place by the final stage. They would be jumped by Ian Bass and Lacey Brown in this Toyota Yaris in the final standings of the day. Championship regulars Kay Thompson and Charlotte Wainwright are up next, and they're having a good run in the Nissan Micra. There's a bit of on board of Kay at work. She's going to love us for that. Finally, it's Ron Walker and Amy McCubbin in a car that's more duct tape than Ford Puma. They'd pay the price for their Stage 1 error, but still would score well in the championship and leave their lead intact. Back at the top, Frank and Jack extend their lead, going 11 seconds faster than Paul Smith and Dale Bowen on this stage. In D1, it's Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman at the front, and they still are running second overall. Andy Corner and Aid Campo have nearly a 1 minute lead in Class C over nearest rivals Mike English and Andy Robinson. There was drama in Class B as Ben Short and Hannah Chislett had an argument with a tyre and they lost that one. They lost a lot of time, but with several other rivals getting caught up in it, including class leaders Robert Vardy and Rhys Yates, they had to wait in line with everyone else. Total disaster. Good work from the marshals, spot on. Chris Rook and Steve Harris ended up being the beneficiaries of this incident and took the lead in Class B. Here's Sam in the paddock.
So we're here with Mike English with the Turquoise Terror. We've been talking to the rest of your classmates this morning because I love your class. There is such banter in it, isn't it? But talk us through your day because we didn't have the best time at Brands. Are we all sorted now?
Yeah, we had a little fire in the boot during the day, which didn't cause us too many problems. But on the road section to the last stage, the alternator packed in, and that was us game over. So championship-wise, that means we've dropped 2 scores. So we've just got to push hard and fingers crossed. And I think, you know, we calculated if we do exceptionally well in every remaining round, I still need some bad fortune on the other guys. Okay. So we're just going to do that. We're just going to work as hard as we can.
And it has been a little bit up and down, hasn't it, this season? There's been really, really good rounds and there's been not so good rounds. But I mean, the banter that you guys have in your class has got to keep you going.
Oh, absolutely. Kathy, Ryan, myself, we've all got a £1 a stage bet on today. So we're all walking around jingling pound coins, passing pound coins backwards and forwards, having a giggle about it. But, you know, it's great sportsmanship. And one of the stages earlier on, I can't remember, Ryan came out in front of us and we hooked on his bumper for the full stage. And it was just, you know, him, I, and it was healthy, it was great fun, it was a really good scrap. And we were just giggling all the way around. It was really good. And, you know, for the sake of the camera, he went 2 seconds quicker than us, but I reckon if he wasn't in front of me, I would have been faster.
And that is what it's all about. That's why we do it. That's why we love the sport, isn't it?
You know, this championship's superb for that. There's some great camaraderie. There's great banter all round. You know, right through the field, and everybody's happy to help each other. And we're all competitors, but we're all, you know, having a great day out and just doing what we can do.
Father and daughter team, I love stories like this. So I believe it is your second event, isn't it? Just tell us how you got into motorsport.
Well, my family have been in motorsport their whole lives really and have grown up with it, and it's passed since November. I did my first rally, so getting into it like that through family.
Yeah. And what's it like having daughter in the car with you?
It puts a whole new perspective on it.
Okay.
It's precious cargo.
Yes. Absolutely, I can understand that. But as a partnership, you two must gel really well. Being in father and daughter relationship, it must be a fab team in the car.
It's not too bad, but there are moments.
That was not what I was expecting him to say. So from your side of the car then, what's it like?
It can be a bit scary, no? Okay. Just had a few hold-ups, but trying to just go on and speed up a little bit, really. Yeah. But, yeah, just go for it.
And what do we think of Cadwell Park? Weather's been a little bit all over the place today, hasn't it?
We love Cadwell. It's our local event. We only come from Grantham, so okay. We've been here a lot, and it's the round we know the most. So yeah. I mean, we like the fact it's slippy and wet. Yeah. It suits the car.
Excellent. So we're having fun then?
Yeah, definitely.
Good. Well, we shall be keeping an eye on you. It's only your second event, and we'll see what you've got for the rest of the season.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Here's the results so far. In Class A, Adam and Ray Ripper extend their lead over James Hardy and Nick Wilkins to 34 seconds. The ones to watch, however, are Mark Wood and Peter Kettle as they continue their rise up the leaderboard. Another fast time on this stage moves them within striking distance of 4th place. Here we go, confirmation of the changes in Class B with Chris Rook and Steve Harris taking 1st place. Ben Short and Hannah Chislett plunge down the order after their incident, and Ashley Morris and Jamie McTavish moving to 3rd place. There's still a good battle for 2nd, 3rd and 4th in Class C, with nothing really between Mike English, Ryan Connolly and Kathy Stewart. Andy Corner and Aid Campo are looking good at the top of the times. Barry Morris and Tom Hutchins continue their charge in Class D1 and are now tied with Mike Taylor and Martin Haggart for 3rd place. Only 11 seconds ahead of them are the Tilburns in their Ford Escort. Paul Morrow and Callum Cross are a solid 5th. In Class D2, Frank Bird and Jack Morton have nearly a 1 minute lead over Paul Smith and Dale Bowen. John Griffiths and Nigel Wetton continue their strong form in third place, with Richard Wells and Calvin Holdsworth holding fifth. Overall, Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman hold second place behind Frank and Jack with the gap at 47 seconds. Paul Smith is third, with John Griffiths fourth, and it's great to see such a good mix of cars from different classes. We've got just 2 stages left to run as we head towards the darkness, so let's see how everyone got on. Stages 8 and 9 comprise of 2.5 laps almost entirely on the main race circuit itself at this point in the right direction, with a trip through the pit lane and also a single chicane to navigate.
So there's only 2 stages to go. As you can see, the weather is finally drying out. We're going to have all our stages ran in actual daylight today. Let's see what our guys do now that this weather's changing.
Leading off and remaining well in the lead of the rally itself were Frank Bird and Jack Morton. Despite ending this stage over a minute ahead of anyone else, Frank wasn't holding back in his Ford Focus WRC machine. Keeping him honest though were returnees Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman in their Ford Escort. Mark Similery was right on the edge, having a fantastic run ahead of some more modern machinery. They were second overall and quickest in D1. In third place overall and just 8 seconds behind Kelly and Coleman were Paul Smith and Dale Bowen in their Ford Fiesta R5. Perhaps the drying conditions will provide them with a chance of snatching second during stage 9. Mike Taylor and Martin Hagger were also pressing on up to 4th in D1 and just 2 seconds behind Barry Morris and Tom Hutchins. Could they secure a few extra championship points? Meanwhile, an unusual line for Simon and Dominic Thomas in their Peugeot 306 left an extra obstacle on track. Topping the times in Class C were Andy Corner and Aid Campo, hustling their Peugeot 205 to 13th overall ahead of Andy Robinson and Mike English, who were left top of the championship point scorers in that class. Swift work by one of the marshals to move the heavy tyre here, just as Robert Vardy and Rhys Yates come through. This pair were leading Class B, but had just 1 second to play with, so needed to keep up the pace to take the class win. On board with Class B challengers Chris Rook and Steve Harris now, not fazed by the slippery conditions despite the clearing skies, but dropping a single second to Vardy and Yates would mean they'd have to dig deep in the final stage to take the win. Lovely smooth stuff from the guys. In Class A, however, it was a much more comfortable story for Adam and Ray Ripper, who had a healthy lead in their Nissan Micra and was set to take the maximum championship points, which would be a big boost for their title aspirations. The conditions remained challenging as Stuart Ranby and Jonathan Stockdale demonstrated. Nice work for keeping that out the barriers. But things were about to go very badly for Jack and George Wright as their R-Bar 500 engine expired. Frustrating when this happened so late in the day. Father and son duo managed to get out the car without any dramas. Matthew Hill and Richard Crozier had a wee spin too, but also kept it out the barriers. Back on board now with Frank Bird and Jack Morton as we head on to stage 9. There really was no chance of Frank backing off too much despite this healthy advantage, as he extended his lead at the head of the rally by 14 seconds during this stage to take another commanding victory, his third in 3. Just 18 points now separate him and D2 championship leader Richard Wells, so the title now is a possibility for the talented teenager, despite retirement leading to a low score at Oulton and missing the first event here at Cadwell Park. Holding on to second overall and the D1 victory were Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman in their Mark II Escort. It was a nice return for the pair, who were championship regulars last season, and it'll be great to welcome them back at Anglesey later in a few weeks' time as well. Third overall and second in D2 were Paul Smith and Dale Bowen in their Fiesta R5 after a good recovery drive at Brands Hatch. It was also a solid performance from the pair, who finished a mere 8 seconds off Kelly and Coleman after 9 tough stages. Second in D1 and maximum championship point scorers were Stephen and Jack Tobin in their Escort. Just 20 points cover first to fourth in the title fight. Just behind them with a good recovery were Barry Morris and Tom Hutchins after they'd lost time on stage 1. Leading the way in Class C were Andy Corner and Aid Campo with a cracking victory in their Peugeot 205, hustling that car around Cadwell Park. They even indicated for the final turn. Second in class but taking maximum points meanwhile were Mike English and Andy Robinson, which helps Mike keep the pressure on championship leader Kathy Seward. Coming into stage 9, Bob Vardy and Rhys Yates had a 1 second lead in Class B, a really good performance by Bob. However, that battle would swing back one more time as Chris Rook and Steve Harris nipped back ahead to take class victory by a single second. Excellent driving by both pairs, and a battle we'll hopefully see more of in the final few rounds of the season. Let's go back on board with Rook and Harris. After a good start to the season, this result will buoy Rook and Harris into the final few rounds. There was another close battle in Class B a little further down the order as championship leaders Paul Gorge and Daniel Hurst slipped back one position as they too were pipped by just 1 second, with Connor Tolson and Brian Alara taking 5th spot from them on the final stage. Taking the win in Class A were Adam and Ray Ripper, and this helps them close up on championship leader Ron Walker. This will be another exciting battle to keep an eye on. Let's join Sam with the top 3.
Dale, another really good day. You've got to be pleased with the result.
Over the moon, yeah. We had some good speed in the car. The Spencer Sport guys done a few diff settings. It's transformed the car since Brands Hatch. Credit to them, credit to Dale. I think most importantly, a credit to all the marshals and organisers, because what a great event. Fantastic. Really enjoyed the day. Some great competition as well.
You three do seem to have had some really good banter. I mean, every time I've been over to see Mark Kelly, you've been there checking time, so you must have had some really good banter. And you had a really good start from the off, didn't you, this morning?
Makes a change, doesn't it? It's the first time, I'm not in the top 30s after stage 1. So, yeah, we said first stage, go really cautiously, and then we'll see how it goes after that. So, yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Mark, Neil, it is so good to have you back as part of the championship, and what a fab day that you've had.
Yeah, I loved it. Great to be back, as I said earlier, and yeah, we've had a great time. We've pushed all day, to be fair. We've really tried, and we knew Frank would be quick. Surprised really to be sticking with him up until lunchtime, but we've driven as quick as we could all day and taken a few risks here and there, but fortunately come back clean and not a mark on the car, which is a bonus. So yeah, really enjoyed it, thank you.
You three seem to have had a really good battle actually through the top all day. I mean, the other guys have both said the same thing, that it's been such a good laugh.
It has, yeah, and we knew coming here, when you look at the entry list, it's going to be tough, with the world cars and the R5s, and yeah, it has been a battle. There's hardly been anything between, certainly myself and Paul, since the first stage, hardly anything in it for the rest of the day. So great battle, and that's what it's all about. You want it to be nice and tight and battling to the final stage, which is what we've done.
And you're saying, looking at the entry list, I mean, your car is an incredibly impressive bit of kit, so we're not putting yours down at all, because, I mean, you will agree it is an incredibly impressive bit of kit, isn't it?
It is, but to be with the world cars and R5 cars, it's a fantastic piece of kit, but the technology in these new cars, and they've got 4 wheels driving. We've only got 2, and we're trying to put all the horsepower through the last 2, the rear wheels. So to stick with them was pretty good today. It was really good in those conditions this morning. It was really wet and slippy. We took a gamble on stage 6, went on to slicks on stage 6, and yeah, we matched Paul's time and didn't lose anything after that really. So we kept him at bay from stage 6 really. So yeah, all good.
Frank, Jack, another really good result for you.
Yeah, really good day. This morning was a little bit tricky. They kept me honest, all the other competitors. Really strong entry list, so yeah, we pulled away in the afternoon, kept chipping away, and the car was mega. Jack was once again really good, so really good day. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, this morning seemed to have been a little bit tricky for you. It was those handbrakes again, wasn't there? Those hairpins seemed to be a little bit of a problem first thing.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me. But yeah, we got to grips with them in the afternoon, so yeah, didn't lose too much time, and yeah, so it's all good.
Well, and I mean, you always find it very easy to make the time back up at them. You're certainly on it now, aren't you? He is, isn't he?
Yeah, I'm actually running out of things to sort of congratulate him with, because it's getting 4 in a row now, so it's getting a bit sort of ridiculous at the minute, but we'll take it every single time. So another 3 rounds to go in the championship that we still need maximum points on, so we'll be trying.
Great work, Sam. Here's how things finished. Starting with Class A, Adam and Ray Ripper took the victory by over 1 minute. They gained 10 points in the championship standings on Ron Walker and Amy McCubbin, and with drop scores coming into play, both duos are tied with 3 rounds to run. In Class B, Chris Ruck and Steve Harris prevailed by just 1 second over Robert Vardy and Rhys Yates after an exciting final few stages. A good finish keeps Ashley Morris and Jamie McTavish well in the title battle in this Class 2, while Connor Tolson and Brian Ilaria managed to take 5th place by 1 second during the final stage. Andy Corner and Aid Campo were the pair to beat in Class C with a solid victory margin. Mike English and Andy Robinson enjoyed being the best of the championship entrants, while Ryan Connolly and Chris Allen will be delighted with their 3rd place in their local event. In D1, Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman returned to the championship in style with a victory of almost 2 minutes over Stephen and Jack Tilburn, who took maximum championship points over the recovering Barry Morris and Tom Hutchins. Mike Taylor and Martin Haggart finishing above Paul Morrow and Callum Cross means they remain atop of the title standings. Frank Bird and Jack Morton made it 3 wins from 3 as they vault into the D2 Championship fray, where Richard Wells and Calvin Holdsworth slightly extend their lead over Lee Allen, who this weekend was driving alongside his daughter Abby. 3rd place for John Griffiths and Nigel Wetton was their best result of the season so far, which should give them a boost heading into the final few rounds. Here's how it looked in the overall standings, with Paul Smith and Dale Bowen giving Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman a run for their money. Stephen and Jack Tilburn headed a close battle with 5th to 8th covered by just 14 seconds. In the Michelin Cup, Mike Taylor remains on top, finishing ahead of Paul Morrow at Cadwell Park. Barry Morris made some headway but has a bit to do over the final 3 rounds to overhaul the leading 2. In the co-drivers standings, it's a similar story, with Martin Haggart in the Talbot Sunbeam Lotus leading the way. A solid final few events should ensure he remains in top spot, but any slight mishap and Callum Cross will be ready to capitalise. In the main championship, Mike Taylor has a 19-point lead over Paul Morrow, with Barry Morris another 13 points behind. However, with current drop scores taken into account, Morris leads from Stephen Tilburn and Mike Taylor, so there can be no letting up towards the end of the season. That's it from Cadwell Park. Join us next time for all the action from the Snetterton stages.